Begin our evening, I'd like to call one of our trustees, Becky McDonald.
We start off every event here by a reading of our land acknowledgement statement. Mount Kearsarge Indian Museum is a center for Native life throughout the Americas, both traditional and contemporary, and is situated on Abenaki homeland. The Abenaki have lived in northern New England and Quebec for thousands of years and are one of the 5 members of the Wabanaki Confederacy. Abenaki people were forced off their homeland by European explorers in the mid-1600s. Many fled to Quebec, others died from European-born diseases and wars, some were enslaved, and some moved on to other areas. But today, Abenaki still thrive, and approximately 3,200 reside in New England, continuing to share their traditional values, artistry, and respect for nature.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And bear with me one second here. I'm just going to try and raise this a little bit. How's that, okay? As I say, thank you very much for coming to Mount Kearsarge Indian Museum. I know for some of you it's your first time here, and we're certainly honored that we were able to partner with our friends from the, the Literary Arts Guild, the Lake Sunapee Center for the Arts. And I was just so excited when Nancy Marascio reached out to us. She's been a longtime supporter of our museum, and in so many ways, she has just helped us to meet this 30-year milestone. So we're quite honored to be trying new things with the museum and also reaching out to the community in so many ways. It's just a real honor to, after it seems like 10 years that we've been trying to pull this together, but it's just a wonderful thing. As we go through the evening, I know that Anna has prepared the slides that will coincide with the poet. And then also through the museum galleries, there are probably 10 or 14 of the items that are in the collection. And we've identified those items with a sign that actually is just a small version of the cover of the book. So as you go through the galleries, you can actually see some of the wonderful art that we're talking about. So that said, I think the last thing people want to do is listen to me talk all night. I'll turn it over to Nancy.
Thank you. Did you want to introduce your staff?
We can do that later.
Okay. Abby, this says something is inactive. We don't want to be inactive because we have Zoom people up there.
Oh yeah, you're fine. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, we're good. It's still recording.
All right, so let me explain how we're going to do this. The way this book is put together is MKIM did a picture of artifacts from the museum on one side. The Literary Arts Guild, I'm not speaking in the mic, the Literary Arts Guild people wrote poems from the pictures. I want to say from, not about, okay? The museum was wonderful because many of our people were, it's the first book they've been as writers a little insecure about because the culture is something that they didn't have some knowledge of. And Andy was wonderful letting poets come in here and ask a lot of questions so that they would be well informed. We tried to do a follow-up with that. So before the book was sent to the printer, Andy's people and our people sat down together and read the poems out loud and talked about each one to be sure we were being respectful to the culture. And if there were questions about that respect, Diana Lee went back to her poets and said, there's a question about this. Do you want to do something about it or not? Because writers are always given the choice about what they do. But at least we tried to identify any disrespect that people without meaning to might have shown. So this is the product. And what we're going to do, you have the picture, we'll call, sometimes it will be the poet, and sometimes it will be someone who's reading because the poet couldn't be here. What I would like people to do is very briefly give a little writer biography. How did you start writing? Or why do you like it? Or how did you, whatever. If you're not comfortable with that, you can skip it, except those of you who are my students. So we will start with the first. The photo is called Towering Tree, and the poet is Sandy Little.
Waiting for a new hip, just saying. Hello. Okay, a little bit about myself. I'm retired, but I've written poems since I was a young age. And I'm just going to very quickly say many years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I was out to dinner with Bob and Diana Lee and my husband. And I think on the second glass of wine, she said, "You want to help out on the Literary Arts Guild?" And that's how it all started. So anyway, this is a different poem than what I usually write, so I hope you will like it. The tree. Standing tall, I stretch my limbs to the heavens, rejoicing in the sun's warmth. I push my roots into the rich soil, seeking the earth's bounty of food and water. I see change. I see continuity. I see forever. My life extends longer, beyond that of many individuals I see. There are people that have been here longer than I, respecting land, fauna, and flora. They use what they need without waste and give thanks for the sharing. They have knowledge of the past, respected and passed on to the next generations, relying on all of us to be as one, finding ways to coexist, still allowing the needs of one to balance like nature. I see change. I see continuity. I see forever. Always hoping that one day humans will see beneath the surface, see each other, look into each heart and soul, see and appreciate, know, rejoice in the differences that make the world beautiful. People see a small sliver of time. I see scores of years and watch altering attitudes, moving slowly forward, always changing. Today, there is more understanding, more acceptance than in past years, but still a long, long way to go. I see change. I see continuity. I see forever. I accept all in my world for what it is: gifts of sun, rain, soil, vines, shrubs, birds, animals. I take what is provided and give thanks. It was what was here and will remain. Who am I to change it? I see change. I see continuity. I see forever. Okay, I made it.
And again, you see what the picture and the poem together do. That's why we call it visual verse. The next poem, the author is not here. Cindy, you're going to read. And the picture is called Old Indian, and the poem is called Secret Wish. You don't have to do the autobiography.
And it's by Stephen Reddick.
Yes.
Yes. Secret Wish.
You have to read into the mic.
Secret wish. My window stares at the backyard brush. Sudden shifting movement, and he is there. We are both early risers. Motionless, breathless, he seeks to again become one of the trees. Little birch, tall pine, old oak. He will not run. I would not. We are both warriors, both explorers. We have both fought. Our eyes lock stares while trying to see beyond the corners of our vision, try to glance beyond the horizon of our surprise. Geese abruptly announce their departure, filling the air with honking chorus. Air so softly damp, anticipatory of rain, holding heartbeats for love of the sun. Then he is gone. Mist turn their back on careless land, carry freedom to the sky. Slowly weave goodbyes, silently become clouds, secretly wish.
Thank you. And let me correct an error before I go too far. I should be giving the names of the photographers. The tree photo was Anastasia Glavis, and the old Indian was Barbara Lassonde. This one is called Ribbon Dancer. The photo is by Barbara Lassonde, and the title of the poem is The Beat of the Drum. The author is not here, so Bill will read. And by the way, if those of you who are reading need a text, just take my book when you walk up.
I am a semi-retired college English teacher, so it's wonderful, as they say in The Godfather, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. I get a chance to read, that's a good pull back in. That's a wonderful thing. This one is called The Beat of the Drum. This colorful image of a young Native American dressed in full regalia at a Kearsarge powwow evoked a powerful memory. Captivated by mesmerizing music emanating from behind the palace of the governors in Santa Fe, driven to locate the interior courtyard, through one of the shops, I was engulfed by the intense beat of the drum and the penetrating high-pitched chanting by Native Americans celebrating their culture and the never-ending circle of life. The beat of the drum and chanting left an imprint on my soul. Some things you never forget.
This photo is again by Barbara Lassonde. It's called Woman at Loom. And Becky is going to read because the author Loa Winter could not come.
Invisible Navajo Woman. In 1540, the Spanish brought in the churro sheep to North America. According to ancient legend, spiritual Spider-Man was told to build a loom. Spiritual Spider-Woman was told to weave on the vertical loom. The warp threads run top to bottom. The weft threads create the patterns, symbols of life. Churro sheep wool is known for its natural colors of brown, black, gray, white, and tan. Later cochineal beetles yielded red. The Navajo people, the Dene, raised their churro sheep, brush, clean, pull, and card the fleece. Using a long shaft spindle with disc at the bottom, they spin the wool into yarn. During this labor-intensive process, special songs and chants are sung. The women weave their souls into their blankets and rugs. They create one loose thread, invisible to the naked eye, to allow the Dene souls to be released. Today, Navajo women are invisible to our nation. Women have been isolated, lacking basic life supports of safe water, food, and security. In our long history together, Navajo traditions are endangered now. It is time for us to take the long walk to reparation for Navajo women and all the Dene.
All right, this photograph is called Two Baskets with Photo Behind. And this one is by Anastasia Glavis. And Sandy is reading this one because Florence Wiltshire Millet could not come. You go up and I'll give it to you.
Okay. Native American baskets. Native American baskets are treasures to behold. Creations woven in intricate designs filled with harmony and color in flowing order. Patient hands were skilled in the art, one of the oldest North American crafts, nearly 8,000 years old. Women in early villages worked endlessly to weave baskets needed for everyday life. Though basket weaving continues to be a viable craft, older baskets hold qualities unlike those of modern day. Beautiful Native American baskets. If you are fortunate to own one of these baskets, you have a true treasure, a special gem. Did you read who it was from? Thank you.
All right, the next, whoops. Did we skip one? Teepee with hollyhock is next. Yep. This one is Teepee with hollyhock, and it's a photo by Bob Arcan. And Diana Lee Bailey wrote the poem for this, and she is here.
Sandy's waiting for surgery, and I just had surgery for the invalid back there. Abenaki morning prayer. This is also a Villanelle, so it has a certain rhyme scheme. Each day I greet the people of the dawn. Abenaki ladies lift the black sky. Kwai, kwai, they whisper gently as I yawn, asking what new wonders this day will spawn. I compose and reverence my reply. Each day I greet the people of the dawn with thanks for the sunrise lightening my lawn. For this translucent glow, wali wani, kwai kwai, they whisper gently as I yawn. Look now to the ridge to face the young fawn. One quick glance and you'll see his white tail fly. Each day I greet the people of the dawn as they share their visions. I, a mere pawn of this elegant life, this gift to untie. Kwai kwai, they whisper gently as I yawn. Noiselessly like the night they have withdrawn. This day provides a real present, I sigh. Each day I greet the people of the dawn. Kwai kwai, they whisper gently as I yawn. So not only is there a rhyme scheme, there's a repetition of lines.
Can you tell by Diana Lee's comments that she's a teacher of poetry? Okay, this one is Interior of Dwelling, photo by Anastasia Glavis. And Ellen Pies is the poet, and she is here.
Okay, bio. Taught school for a long time, mostly sixth grade, and poetry is natural with kids. And then when I retired, I found AIL, and I found Diana Lee, and I found a community of poetry friends. So it's been fun. Interior dwelling. I think we each have our own interior dwelling place. Diverse, hopefully beautiful. So his interior dwelling. You dwell within, your thoughts your own, free from opinions, free from judgment. Your own basket of dreams, a container for poems, woven, braided, and tied. Light shines on them. Grief sits in the dark corner with its fear, heavy as stone. Leave them there. Wrap yourself in warmth of ancestor blankets. Rest in their shelter, safe from the outside world, in your interior dwelling place. Thank you.
The picture up now is Turtle Rosette. The photo is by Andy Bullock. Catherine O'Brien is in the South, so Andy will read the poem that goes with this picture.
Thank you. And one of the things that was a highlight for me for this program, I did get a chance to speak with Catherine about our mutual appreciation for beadwork, and she came and we just had a wonderful time. It was also a chance for us to reconnect with one of our old trustees here at the museum. So I'm just so happy that we were able to reconnect with George Wells, who was a real important part of the museum over the years. This is how you start. Not the silver thread, wax it, loop it. Keep tacking down one bead at a time, each bead close to the next. Do turtles know where they're going? They sense a magnetic field. 8 shades of green, each bead a tiny moment, a gift, each bead a tiny gate. Follow the map. It's the beading season. The design of a turtle. May you have a long life. Woven into the center, may you have good health. The shell outlined in black forever beads, secrets of heaven and earth. May you be protected. Tolba turtle carried the earth on his back. Beading has its own language. There are stories to tell in the old symbols. Keep the beads even and flat. Did you know sea turtles cry? I could be crying. Instead, I'm beading. I'm stitching a rhinestone binding a rosette medallion by Catherine O'Brien.
We cannot let Andy get away that easily. At the risk of losing my volunteer job here, I must tell you that not only do you read that and photograph it, that isn't beadwork.
All right, the next photo is Oblong Basket, photo by Barbara Lassonde. Cheryl Atherton Crow wrote this poem. She is not able to be here. They gave it to me because it's very long. A beautiful Native American quilt basket. I can still see her in my mind's eye as I write. She's a young, beautiful Native American woman. Her child is laced into a baby carrier next to her on the ground. The baby has a full shock of black hair and is a beautiful child, sound asleep in the sunshine. It is a day much like today is for me, close to summer with winter far behind. The weather is warm enough to be pleasant, but not too warm. If there were a stiff breeze, it might be too cool. She's attentive to both her child and her project in progress. Before her is an unfinished porcupine quilt basket on the blanket. I wonder if it might be planned for her personal use, to hold special things of hers, jewelry, a pretty rock, or her daytime tools for the basket's completion, and also to care for her baby. It's a small covered basket, rectangular, about 8 by 10 in circumference and about 4 or 5 inches in height, with a separate, well-fitting cover. She's using porcupine quills gathered in January or February. The birch bark was cut from the tree this month, May. The birch box is the base of the basket and provides the form to which the quills are attached. They are ready to use. She softened them in her mouth after their retrieval. She cleaned them after their softening and removed any traces of skin or hair. When properly softened, they can be flattened from their hollow shape. They can also be bent or twisted depending on the needs of the decoration. There are several colors available to her: the natural untouched, a cream colored with black tips, or the natural dyed ones of red, yellow, green, purple, and orange. Each dyed color results from soaking the quills in mosses, berries, roots, herbs, or other plants. She must decide the color she wants, and then they soak in the appropriate solution. Quill work is very time consuming, exhausting, and the quiller must be very meticulous. The decorations are worn on clothing, both fabric and leather, and used on boxes and baskets. Quill work beginnings are lost to history, but when the white man came to the New World, it was already an old art form. When European glass beads became part of the game in the 1600s, quill work slacked off a bit. The craft was indigenous around the areas of the Great Lakes in America and Canada. There was a good staple population of porcupines in those areas. Quill work items are beautiful, and at this point in history, very costly. So this picture is Canoes, photo by Barbara Lasson, and the writer is here, Alakaki, who is also the head of the New Hampshire Poetry Society.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Just wanted to a couple of items before we go through the reading. I lived in Arizona for about 10 years back in the 80s, and was very fortunate that we made friends with a Hopi couple on Second Mesa. So we would go there sometimes on the weekend and smuggle a couple of beers for Tony, the elder, because it was forbidden on the reservation, and he begged, please, you know. He was a wind talker during World War II, and he was pretty old, but that was the one thing that he really liked from the war, and he had to have it. So anyway, got a very good and robust introduction to the Hopi culture during those 10 years. And one of the things that I missed when we moved from Arizona. A few years back, my wife and I were in Lowell, and there was an anthology reading of Dawnland poetry by Dawnland poets in Lowell. And it was very moving. And I bought the anthology. And as I was reading it, the one thing that struck me was that there was no anger in all those poems. And we know the history of Abenaki, right? You know what happened to them. I mean, the threads that ran through were things like pain, pride, hope, but not anger. And that was really remarkable. Things to be learned, right? So when Diana Lee sent me the thing and I saw the canoe, it really resonated with me, the concept of the canoe, not just as a vehicle for other things, for peaceful things, such as fishing, going down, trading, but as a mechanism to escape brutality. And that became kind of the image that started form in my head. So before I read the poem, I thought also to mention that unfortunately, during the typesetting, a few things happened. And so what you see there in the book, where there are some errors, and you know, poets are very finicky. They work, I'm the head of the Poetry Society of New Hampshire, and I've been writing poetry for over 50 years. I can tell you that every line break, Diana Lee can say, we labor over it. Every syllable, every tone, we sometimes try to make sure that the musicality and the intention behind the lines and the words are consistent and maintained. So unfortunately, typesetting is a difficult job and sometimes things happen. So it's not a criticism of anybody. So what I thought I would bring you a copy of the poem the way it was intended, and you can distribute that to everybody here. I'm not sure if you have enough copies. We printed 20. There are two Abenaki words that I would like to, before reading the poetry, to introduce to you so that you can see that, you can understand the verse's meaning with these words. One is on the second line of the poem. It's called, it says, Queen Itukho. Queen Itukho is the long river. It's the river that is now called Connecticut River. Oh, sorry about that. So Connecticut River in Abenaki is called Queen Itukho, which is called, a pretty long river, as you know, right? And the second word is what they refer to white men as. It is Oa Nuts. So now the poem with your permission. Canoe, you carried us upstream Kun Ituku, huddled children of Dawnland in your birch womb. Your bow, our compass to exile. Your stern, resonant with a cacophony of death. Our pillaged village, fading, moans, smells of scorched flesh, black powder, redcoats' musket rage. Owanots reply to our ancestors' gift of life.
This picture is called Corn Husk Shoes and it's by Barbara Lisson. The author is Douglas King. He's not here, so Tammy will read.
Mother left the lodge as her clan folk slept, gently cradling the shoes as she silently wept. Just finished for her son, they'll never be worn. Defending his home, killed early this morn. Stinging snow all around, blowing disheveled hair, laying down with his shoes, never moving from there. By Douglas King.
Title of this one is Multicolored Cape, photo by Barbara Lisson. Cynthia Jones is the author and she will read.
Shawl dance. Called by the constant beat of the drum, opening her arms, unfolding her shawl, the woman swings gracefully onto the grass, placing her feet with artful precision, spins faster and faster in dizzying turns, spreading her shawl, asymmetrical brilliance, markings like those on a butterfly's wings. A rainbow of color from dark at its center to amber and gold, a staircase of yellow reflected in tendrils of elegant fringe, tossing and swaying like loose swinging hair. A butterfly freed from its chrysalis shell. She dances in circles, her shawl floating wide, her feet lifting high, never missing a beat. Is one with this joy, a re-emerging each spring, offers thanks for the unending cycle of life.
The picture is called Flutes, and the poem is called Native Flute. Bill Ty, the poet, is here.
Hello. A short bio. I've been writing poems since about 1970. My last name is Ty, and if you look it up in the Book of New England Irish, you'll find that Ty translates as bard. I've been a member of Dinah Lee Veely's John Hay Poet Society for about 10 years. Before that, 15 years in the New England Writers and Vermont Poet Society. Native flutes. These are the colorful flutes handmade by dedicated artisans. Age-old ceremonial musical instruments, each exhibiting a lilting aura, proudly played at native rituals, producing melodies to please the spirits.
The picture is titled Dancer with Shield, and it's by Anastasia Glavis. The poet is Jody Wells, who is not here, so Ron will read, although Jody is on Zoom. We tried to figure out how we could Zoom the people who are on Zoom to you.
Good evening. I hope I do the poem justice. In the circle of dance. Last night, a light rain fell on Mount Kearsarge. Now, the familiar smell of new cut hay. It's one of those days when the sun and the moon are visible in the sky at the same time. Inside the tent, the host drum calls us. It is time. Time for the grand entry. My heart leaps up, beating in time with the drum and singers. With the trees, I bend and sway as dancers start to gather. We're all under the hot July sun, as if in a trance. They form a circle in the grass dance, all moving in one direction. I watch a dancer move toward the edge of the perimeter, his slick black hair tied with wild turkey feathers, a leather strap of beads and wampum shells across his shoulder. I wonder if his regalia was handed down. He is light as a fox on his feet, as if the moves were taught to him by his father. I think of my own father, what he taught me, how he loved the drum and the dance, how he answered the call of the drum, how he lived inside the wind and rain. The singers' voices rise and fall, stirring a breeze across the mountain, drawing me into the dream, his presence here within me.
The title of this picture is Regalia. The photo is by Barbara Lasson, and in tune with the fact that there are two figures, there are also two poems.
Hello, my name's Mary Blum. For my bio, I was raised on a farm, a large family in Southern Maryland, and first moved to Washington, the Washington area where I met my husband right there. And later we moved to Massachusetts, and then finally to the Lake Sunapee area, which I love. We live on the lake and it's just gorgeous. The ice went out today, and so it was beautiful. Anyway, I joined the poetry group with Diana Lee, love it, and also a painting group. So what I love about poetry is the way the rhythm is, the sounds, what the words evoke. So it's a passion. So I have two poems. The first one is Legends of the Iroquois. Drums beat the rhythm, smoke fills the air, elders hold council to settle affairs. Wampum beads pass that tell sacred legends of animals who spoke to them and why they do no more. Butterflies flit among the blooms, gathering nectar. They are silent still. Lovers died with braids entwined. Where they lay, violets grew. Birds saw them and spread their seed, now a harbinger of spring. The next one's 3 red dresses, and those are the dresses. So there's 3 different descriptions in this. On special occasions, we wear our regalia, trimmed with porcupine quills and moose hair. Beads from clamshells adorn our clothing, and moccasins are fashioned from leather. Explorers once landed, wanting our furs, trading trinkets and glass beads from Venice. We now may wear clothing with flowers and vines, satin and velvet, or a Glengarry bonnet. Another dress hangs empty that shares a wound so raw, missing children, murdered women taken from their homes. State and church conspired to breed a better person who might serve them better, beating cases for their glasses. My sister wears the jingle dress with cones from lids of snuff. She sways in rhythm as it tinkles the sounds of healing rain. Treaties made and later broken, my people sent to reservations. So much pain awaiting reconciliation.
Picture is Calico Snowshirt the photo by Anastasia Glavis. The poet is Liz Tentarelli, who is not here. So Ali will read this for us. And I might say that Liz is the president of the League of Women Voters of New Hampshire. You will see the influence of that in this poem.
Because context matters, I'm going to read the italics point to the right of the poem from Liz Tentarelli. In 1848, when the first Women's Rights Convention was held in Seneca Falls, New York, some wondered where the attendees got this notion of women's equality. It had been there for hundreds of years in their Native American neighbors, the Haudenosaunee, AKA the Iroquois Confederacy. In these 6 tribes, the women controlled the family's property, had a voice in choosing a chief, were consulted in deciding whether to go to war. The Senecas required a vote of, quote, 1/3 of the mothers, unquote, to ratify a peace treaty. It would take the non-native women of this country 72 years to get a vote, much longer to gain equality. Are we there yet? We could learn much from donning our Native American mother's dress of power. And now Our Mother's Dress by Liz Tentarelli. This is our mother's dress. Touch it. Feel the strength of all of our mothers. Touch it. This holds the memories of our mothers. Hear it. Hear it. The mother's words, spoken over the centuries, heard by elder male and female, believed and valued. Hear it. The mother's words now, though some would silence women, though strong women are mocked, though some are still afraid to try. Touch it. The mother's dress of power, of beauty, of courage. Wear the mother's dress of determination, of resilience. Don the mother's mantle of power, of authority. Touch it. Hear it. Live it.
You see the life that the poems are putting into the pictures. Plains Cree Outfit is the title of the photo up there by Anastasia Glavis. And the poet is Amber Rose Crowtree, who is here to read.
evening. Let's see. I've been blessed of knowing Diana Lee Veely first at Granite State College as a student in her Modern American Poets class, and then later, shortly later, meeting Nancy Marascio at River Valley Community College. So I've been blessed by knowing them for so long. My significant other here, we met in American Indians class at Unity College. So we had something to share right away. That was 19 years ago. I will say the title, Olawan, I found is a Plains Indian word for song. And the Wankantanka that comes later is the Great Mystery. It's the Lakota word for the Great Mystery. He walks in beauty, like the dawn and nightfall, honoring the four directions, praying for all. Wakantanka, find us balanced by your wisdom. Hum the four directions, teach us of survival. With every step, with every dream. Wakantanka, find us balanced by your wisdom. Hum the four elements, teach us of renewal. With every step, with every dream. Thank you.
This photo is titled Headdress, and it's by Barbara Lassonde. The poem is Of Headdress and History. Pat Whitney is the author. She's not able to be here, so they assigned me this one. Scattered across 3 centuries, a story is imagined first by the teller and again by hearers and ultimately readers of a white woman who traveled the northern plains in the late 1800s, collecting pieces of Native American culture simply because she could. What could she have known about the wearer of this headdress and whether each of the juvenile golden eagle feathers were part of an earned stature in the tribe, or of the maker who skillfully laced feathers to red wool with rawhide knotted to keep them evenly spaced and flowing out behind if the wearer were on horseback or perhaps dancing? When she shared this bold tale in her salon. And now, in the early 2020s, another white woman reimagines this acquisition as if taking of an unfair advantage, that enough gold coins can persuade any man to barter a part of his soul, and that we are all abettors in the annexing of tribal land, the violating of treaties, and the intentional rewriting of history, simply because we can. Our national landscape is littered with too many white assumptions and not enough indigenous truths, crafting our collective ledger as a debt of snake oil promises. When will we ask those whose ancestors actually lived these stories to tell them? And when will we begin to listen? Beaded Purse on Rock, photo by Heather Moran. The poem is titled Beaded Books, and Anna will read this.
Beaded Books by Patsy Barrett King. We crafted my bag for the journey to school. I try to follow each and every rule. I share my new room with so many others, not any of them my sisters or brothers. Of all the tribes, I practice each name, but to the teachers, we're all the same. I did not want to leave my life and my home.
But here I am unpacking my comb. On my first day, I'll carry my bag. Red, white, and blue, just like the flag. My mother and her mother strung most of the beads. I took my turn when they agreed. I will remember the stories they told, no matter what happens when I get old. I will return to my true land to follow the destiny my ancestors planned.
The picture is titled Pottery with Totem, and the photo is by Barbara Lasson. The poet is Catherine Feeney, who is not here tonight. And the title is Clay Pot. Vibrant red earth upon my potter's wheel, beneath my waiting, warming hands, the earth I know will work with me to tell a story of our shared native history. Form and function emerge as cylinders, birds on clay pots imploring us to listen to soft trills that honor nature's bounty and mournful keening for our freedom. The walls of the pots are only as thick as needed for integrity and protection. Too thickened and they will lose their beauty and their purpose. To welcome in not empty vessels long, these earthen pots as earth and native are ready to receive one another's bounty in an earthen circle of eternal love and need for one another. Men's Fancy Dance at Powwow, photo by Anastasia Glavis. And this is by Dan Allen, the poet who is here.
Dance. Adults soon assemble, await. Drum provides fine tempo, neat beat. Their dance sedate, two-step, slow rate. Vital cultural dance, so neat. Children dance, encouraged, participate. Dance meaningful, solemn, elite. Now, my wife couldn't be here.
Let me do the picture first, okay? The title of this picture is Woman Making a Basket by Anastasia Glavis. And he'll explain.
Our earth houses marvelous creatures. Otters slide down muddy banks. A bear and 3 cubs sidle on wood's edge. Fox parents place each kit in their new den. A buffalo thunders in with a calf behind. Robins drop food into tiny open beaks. Human mothers nursing their babies in our solar system Earth, the only planet with abundant life. We must save our home.
They couldn't come.
Yeah, this is by Natalie Davis.
And Natalie is Dan's wife.
Yeah, sure.
This photo by Anastasia Glavis is 2 dolls. The poem is Small Spirits, and Kathleen Skinner Schulman is here, the poet.
Thank you all for being here tonight and for the museum for hosting us. I teach mostly kids with dyslexia, and they have a very creative spirit. I've learned that poetry is a marvelous way to shorten a thought and to help them understand. And they don't get as tired reading poetry. So that's one of the things that we do. And I've been writing probably in journals all my life. I was fortunate for 10 years to be part of a project at UMass Boston called the Joyner Center for the Study of War and Social Consequences of War, which brought poets and playwrights, writers from around the world together to Boston. It started as Vietnam vets and Vietnamese coming together, and then extended through the Irish Trouble, and then through Arabic wars, also wars from Africa. So it was a really interesting place to be, and it's a place where I think I found my voice. The poem that I wrote, the one word that you might want to know is Shaman Sani. It's a Navajo word for grandmother. Dolls were work, not toys. Navajo Shimshani warns, if you don't hear your name called after you die, you can't cross over to the other side. Women always have long hair, so their people can grab it and pull you safely to the hereafter. As a girl, Shimshani made dolls with long strands of her own hair, painted cloth faces, soft hide hands, bits of fabric, glass beads, wide belts to support muscles weakened by motherhood. Play was for boys, to teach them to hunt. A girl worked with her clan, tended earth, animals, plants, used a needle to craft her likeness, sent her young spirit into the land of the white tourists. Her dolls rode beyond the hills to a land of tall buildings, where they sat on a shelf in a new girl's room and marked the hours of loneliness living without their tribe. Thank you.
Photo is titled Man with Glasses and Animal Headwear. And it's by Barbara Lasson. The poet of Discover is Tom Smith, and he is here.
So I really became interested and more passionate about writing poetry around the 7th grade. And the reason why that is because a teacher of mine encouraged me to write poetry. And that's one of the reasons why I'm still encouraged to write poetry today. It's one of the reasons why I'm still encouraged to be a teacher today. It's a huge reason why I love teaching poetry to children today. Several years ago, my first year teaching, one of my first tasks was to teach a history unit on Native Americans of the Northeast region. And it was a bittersweet task, sweet because I had the opportunity to really grow in my knowledge and be able to share that with my students. A little bitter to discover how little I knew, even growing up in this region. And I think some of that comes through in the poem that I wrote. Discover. This native photo is foreign to me, even though I have taught elementary school. On the history of who was on this land first, from cordial encounters to estrangement, the worst. But perusing the dates and remembering names and forced relocations that bring about shame do not cultivate a clear picture of tribes and the faces and feelings their stories describe. So gazing upon this man and regalia with colors diverse and bright like azaleas, there is no chance that I can recognize his deep heritage and hear his low cries during his powwow, during his dance, unless I deliberately search out a chance to discover his culture as well as his place beyond this bright photograph, meet face to face. Thank you.
This photo is called The Original Hoop Dancer by Anastasia Glavis. And Jenny Pollard is the poet, not able to be here, so Marcy will read.
I'm not sure how you pronounce the third word on the first line, so I apologize if I have said that incorrectly. You're Puckawis, dancing to the eagle, the bear, the snake, mimicking their spinning movements and their relationships with other animals. The hoops become symbols of responsibility, then of understanding, then the healing of those sick in body or mind. We watch your hypnotic steps. You are teacher and shaman, animal and human, even leaves that skitter before the breeze. You were ridiculed by your father, but choose to act your beliefs, to hold fast to your sacred visions. We honor your example. The never-ending circle of life, the many joining with each other in one great hoop, made up of many hoops. We pray this may be so.
And those of you who come to the museum know this is the Medicine Woods, photo by Anastasia Glavis again. The poet is Joan Dorn, and she will be up front immediately.
Let's see, maybe, I don't know, I'm not very good at these anymore. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, I've been a poet for just about forever. I'll take this off.
I'll give them back to you.
Thank you. You can take those. You won't believe this, but when I was a little girl in New Jersey, that part of New Jersey up toward the north was so much like New Hampshire today. And now if you go back there, it's crisscrossed with roads. It's developed with all kinds of things you wouldn't even imagine. And there are no traces left of the beautiful woods that my friends and I spent many, many hours walking in. I was just absolutely delighted when Diana Lee Veely, who is the one who runs our John Hay Poetry Society, assigned this picture to me because it brought back those woods that we played in, that we walked in, where we found so much enchantment. This woods retains a feeling of the kind of magic, that almost sanctity, that lives in a woods that has not been despoiled. Interestingly, this woods was not respected at one point and was used as a dump, and it has been reclaimed. and it now lives as a beautiful tribute. When I wrote the poem, I decided I was going to try to capture, if I could, some of the feeling of the circularity that is the way the path moves through this woods. And so I decided to use a form called a Villanelle. You'll maybe hear the way it repeats, and it suggests a circularity to its language. First, though, I started with something that Theodore Rothke had said. God bless the ground. I shall walk safely there and learn by going where I have to go. Encircled by the peace of this abundant place, move through the lighted shadows with the doe. Learn from the spirits here, follow their pace. With trees, life's wheel will root your life in grace. Sun's compass points to all that you must know to learn the secrets of this restful place. Move from the shade at dawn's first trace, and with bloodroot may you, wise-hearted, grow, as guardian spirits teach you at their pace. Breathe in the gentle scent of sweet ferns lace. Give thanks for what the pines and oaks bestow within the shelter of this healing place. Find sarsaparilla wild before black birch's base, lush grass below the bridge when spring streams flow, abundant lessons of this verdant place. May you find healing deep within this space that stays with you wherever you may go, at one with harmony that marks this place. Learn from the spirits here. Follow their pace.